Welcome into another episode of the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast here on Sports Illustrated from the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Tom Cavanaugh. Follow me at TCAV30 on Twitter/X and follow our insider pages at Rams Insider on SI. Today we're going to be looking at a few different things. Number one being the Week 15 power rankings across multiple major publications. And then we're also going to take a look at the first injury report that is already out. It's a short week for both the Rams and the Niners, a divisional matchup upstate in San Francisco at Levi Stadium. It's the 7-6 Rams taking on the 6-7 Niners, both teams keeping their playoff hopes alive at the moment. Niners coming off a crushing win over the Bears, and the Rams, their best game of the season offensively, 44-42 win, upsetting the Buffalo Bills, snapping their 7-game win streak. Should be a good contest on the road for the Rams. They're going to need a win here to get to 8-6 and hopefully beg for a loss from the Seahawks when they play the Packers so that both of those teams can be tied for first at the end of Week 15. So first we're going to start with the power rankings. We're going to look at Sports Illustrated, NFL.com, NBCSN, Pro Football Talk, and CBS Sports. But we're going to start with Sports Illustrated's own Connor Orr. And boy, did he give the Rams quite a solid power ranking, their highest ranking of the year. The Rams had been kind of sitting around the 15 spot to about 20 for a large majority of this season. And now they are inside the top 15, and Connor Orr from Sports Illustrated gives them the number 12 power ranking in the NFL. I mean, it's hard not to bump this team up several spots after seeing what they did offensively. And you know, we've heard it from multiple different people in the media over the last couple of days. This is a dangerous team. If you're one of those top playoff teams, you do not want to play this squad if they do make the playoffs. The Rams have so many options. Obviously, Kyren Williams is very strong in the run game. And then you got options in Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Demarcus Robinson. He was quiet against the Bills, but still leads the team with 7 touchdowns through the air. So when you look at it, I mean, number 12 is pretty high. I think the Rams I think that's a little generous for Los Angeles, but knocking off the Bills deserves a top 15 ranking. So I don't mind it. I just think when you look up and down the top 15 or the top 12 teams, there's maybe one or two ahead of Los Angeles. But I mean, hey, more power to Connor for putting him in the top 12. He's making a bold statement there. We'll move over to NFL.com's own Eric Edholm. He bumped the Rams up just one spot from 16 to 15. He, kind of talked about Sean McVay's impressive performance, one of the greatest offensive performances that they had back on Sunday against the Bills. And he talked about how it's a big win not only for their confidence, but also for their chances of making the playoffs. I know this was a non-divisional game, not even in the same conference, but a big one for the overall record. And they needed to win this game to be able to still have a chance, because they would have fallen to 7-8 on the year, 6-7 on the year, would have been tied for last with the Cardinals and the Niners, and then pretty much just left the Seahawks all alone at the top at 8-5. So it's good for the Rams to be able to pick this up, not only for their own mental psyche, but also for their chances to sneak up and win the NFC West. NBCSN's own Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, he brought the Rams up to number 15, bumping them up just one spot as well. And he had one small, plain and simple quote that we pulled from his story that he wrote. He said, "The Rams are the last team any NFC playoff team wants to see in the playoffs." Plain and simple. Now, I think that's very true. Obviously, there's other teams that are sneaky. The Buccaneers could be okay when you get to the playoffs. Baker Mayfield's playing really well. There's a couple others. I mean, there's obviously the juggernauts at the top in the Lions, the Vikings, and the Eagles. But I think the Rams, out of all those sneaky teams that could get in with a not so impressive record, could still play to the level of a team that had 12, 13, 14 wins this year. Finally, it's Pete Prisco with CBS Sports. He gives the Rams the second best ranking that we've seen behind Orr's number 12. Prisco has them at 13th overall in the NFL, bumping them up 4 spots from 17. So he was really impressed with what they were able to do. And Prisco also kind of just talked about the late season surge that he quoted. He was quoted saying about Sean McVay and what his teams are able to do. Kind of calling back to what they did last season, going 7-1 in their last 8 games to sneak into a wild card spot and lose to the Lions in the first round. But He talked about how the guys are getting healthier on offense, talking about that offensive line specifically. And they're going to head into San Francisco for another one of their biggest games of the year. It's funny, every week we keep saying this is the biggest game of the year, but that's how it is on a weekly basis here, because their backs against the wall and they need to be able to win these ball games to have a chance at winning the NFC or just sneaking in as a wild card at 9-8, maybe 10-7. We're going to transition now talking about the injury report. We'll lightly graze over the Niners. They've been littered with injuries, and there's another running back on their list that could be down again. We'll get to it in a minute, but we'll talk Rams first. There's a big, huge plus coming out of Rams camp this week. As we talked about, there's only 3 days of practice for these two teams earlier in the week. It's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Usually it's a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday type of deal for practice when you play on Sunday. This obviously is kicked up a couple days, so everybody from the Rams not everybody participated in practice, but they did hold a practice. So for the Rams, they had 2 guys that were full practice participants, KT Leviston, who's a backup offensive lineman, and starting tight end Tyler Higbee. Higbee had been worked back. He was elevated to the practice to be able to practice last week, and he looks good to go, should be able to suit up for this week's game against the Niners. Higbee has been out all season, all training camp, all off season. He was blown up on the knee by the Lions. One of their defenders went for a low shot on Higbee, blowing out his ACL, and he's been out ever since. So being able to get him back in the lineup is big. And then you look at 6 different players that did not practice on Monday. Now, obviously, there's 2 days left, so there's still time to be able to recover, but there's some big names on this board here that could play a role. You got wide receiver Demarcus Robinson, who we mentioned leads the team with 7 touchdown catches. You got the backup tight end Davis Allen, who also didn't practice with a shoulder. Robinson also dealing with a shoulder. And so is wide receiver Jordan Whittington. He did not practice as well. Then you look at a couple defenders. You got defensive tackle Tyler Davis. He didn't practice. And cornerback Kobe Durant. Kobe's a big one. He's a starter on that defense. Robinson's one of the key guys also in the passing game. And then another guy I just forgot to mention is rookie center Bo Limmer, who has been starting the last several weeks. He's dealing with a knee injury and did not practice. Now, almost none of these guys besides Leviston and Higbee were on the injury list last week. So it's probably some bumps and bruises from what we saw on Sunday. And because it's a quick turnaround and they're practicing the very next day, I'm not surprised that we're seeing right now a good handful of guys not practicing, obviously trying to get healthy. But it's going to be telling on Tuesday and Wednesday to see what this team is, how they come out health-wise, because I mean, you just got healthy. You brought back Rob Havenstein, Alaric Jackson. He got back healthy. If you lose Limmer at the center position, that's big. I mean, he's a guy that has really stepped up in his first season in the NFL. Robinson, as we mentioned, also one of the best pass catchers in the red zone for this team. Kobe Durant, a really solid secondary defender. Tyler Davis as well. And then Higbee, if he plays, that'll kind of lessen the load. I mean, I guess it won't put as much emphasis on Davis Allen, the backup that could also be out. But we'll just see how everything shakes out over the next couple of days. And it's going to be interesting to see how they stack up against this Niners team that currently Nick Bosa did not practice. He's missed the last 2 weeks. Isaac Guerendo, he is the 3rd running back rookie behind Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. Both Mason and McCaffrey have been on IR since last week against the Bills. McCaffrey got shut down for the season. Jordan Mason's been out. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, so pretty much the remainder of the year. And Guerendo, who was supposed to step in and carry a large load, which he did this past week against the Bears, he's got a foot injury. Did not practice. They're going to have to evaluate him throughout the week. There's a very good chance that this Niners team is going to have absolutely zero run game come Thursday night. They do have Dre Greenlaw back at limited practice on Monday as well. He's a guy that's missed a couple of weeks. Trent Williams did not practice as well. He's their best offensive tackle. There's some names on here, and we'll just kind of see how it shakes out over the course of the rest of the week. This has been the Los Angeles Rams Insider Podcast on Sports Illustrated. I'm your host, Tom Cavanaugh. You can follow me once again at TCAV30 on Twitter/X. Thanks so much, everybody. We will see you next time.